Lowe again. Our very special guest today is the man who used to own Tuesday evenings. Mr. Television himself, he's the legendary Milton Berle. And now, here's your man of the half hour, Skippy Lowe.
Milton Berle, 78 years in show business.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, and I have the material to prove it, I'll tell you that.
Can't believe 78 years. You are the longest, I'm telling you, the longest.
No, not the longest.
No, you aren't?
No. Well, I started when I was 5 years old.
Right.
I don't know if you'd believe, you believe anything, won't you?
I know I won't believe anything, but I do believe that you started with Charlie Chaplin.
No,
like
before that.
Really?
I was a boy model for ads. And if you do see, if you remember, and I don't think you're old enough to remember, pretty good, huh? And when they said I was going to be on the program, they said, Skippy Lowe. I thought it was peanut butter, Skippy Lowe cholesterol. I didn't know what it was. Anyway, no, I started as a boy model. My mother schlepped me and dragged me around to different places, and I was kind of cute. And they said, and if you do happen to see, if your memory serves you, a picture of the Buster Brown boy with the shoes, with the little dog Tig.
Right.
That's me.
You're kidding.
I was 5 years old.
5.
And I have the piece of memorabilia in my home. It's up in the in my archives.
Movies. First film was with Charlie Chaplin?
Well, first picture I made was with Chaplin and Marie Dressler. If the audience remembers, one of the world's greatest comedians. It was Chaplin's first long feature picture.
Right.
He had made two reelers like The Rink and Easy Street and all that. But this was called Tilly's Punctured Romance. And I was the kid in the picture with Chaplin. And in the picture, he was so bright, Chaplin. He was brilliant, brilliant. As I look back now, because when I see the film now, he was the opening of the picture,
right,
of Tilly's Punctured Romance, and Chaplin was walking down as the little tramp with the cane, and I was a newsboy on the corner, selling newspapers, and Chaplin said, in Panama, it was all silent picture, it was all mime. He said, and I gave him a paper, and he gave me, I don't know, a penny or 2 cents. Then he said, you know, and he bought out all the papers for me, and he only must have had about 10 cents in his pocket, and he gave me the whole dime. So I figured it out some years later why he did that right at the opening of the picture.
Why?
Well, because when you do comedy and you do exposition before the beginning of the picture,
right,
you should really try to make your comedian have the most feel of humility and rooting interest from an audience's standpoint, and root for the little man. And they rooted for the little man, which was Chaplin. And he gave me this and bought all the papers. And the audience must have said, if they related to it, they must have said, gee, he's so nice. Then they would laugh at anything. That was a good trick that Chaplin had. I found that out later.
Milton Berle, born in Upper Manhattan. Tell me about being born in Upper Manhattan. Your mother got you in the business, or what happened?
Well, I'll tell you.
Was your stage mother?
Repeat that, please.
Was your mother a stage mother?
Oh, she made Mary Poppins. She made Gypsy Rose Lee look like Mary Poppins. That's what she did. She was a stage mother to a certain extent. Actually, born in Manhattan, as you said. I was born in Harlem.
Harlem.
On 119th Street.
Well, that's Upper Manhattan.
Yeah, that's between
Okay.
Lenox and Fifth Avenue.
Right.
And my mother at that time was one of the first police women to join the police force, the New York Police Department, and she was a detective. She was a store detective.
She was.
Yeah, she worked at Wanamaker's and Gimbel's and
Catching
Saks.
people stealing and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but she was pretty hip
Really?
at that time.
Uh-huh.
She caught shoplifters.
Yeah.
But she managed to make her job easy by trying to always get assigned to the piano department.
Right.
And
That's cute.
so between my mother having to work because my father was sick, my father passed away when he was very young, he was 63, and he was usually quite sick. And Mom had to go out and plug and get money, and little Milton paraded the streets back in latter part of 1913, because Chaplin was the sensation then,
Right.
and they had lookalikes and imitations, and I won the contest. And
As one of the lookalikes.
well, no, as the imitation
As
of
imitation?
Chaplin.
Okay.
I think it was a 10-cent mug or something I won, or a 10-cent loving cup. And everybody said, oh, he's so cute, he's so funny. I used to stand in front of a mirror and make faces. And I'll never forget, my uncle was living with me. He checked in for, he said to my mother, Sarah, which was my mother's
Right.
name, till she changed it to Sandra after I made a few bucks. And my Uncle Joe said, I'd like to stay for a week or so.
Right.
And the staying for a week lasted about 8 years. And I used to make faces in front of the mirror. I had never seen a mirror before. I was 5, 6 years old. And I used to go. And my Uncle Joe said to my mother, he said, Sarah, get that damn kid away from the mirror. He's going to turn out to be an idiot.
Yeah.
Fine idiot.
Yeah.
So my mother said, let him alone, Joe. Let him do what he wants.
Right.
My mother had a pretty good mind. So after the Chaplin contest, I got some modeling jobs like Buster Brown and all that
Right.
stuff, and for shirts and hats and a boy model. And
But you did a
an
lot of
agent
movies.
saw me.
Yeah.
Telling the whole
Right.
story. You got about 8 hours?
No,
Because
that's
this-
okay.
We haven't we
No.
got about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And an agent saw me, and he grabbed my picture dressed as Chaplin, took a snapshot of me, and somehow got in touch with a Packet agency in New York. And we had agencies like Chamberlain Brown and Packet agency.
Right.
And they sent the picture to Chaplin. And he said, well, it's a good imitation. I said, it looks like me, but that boy is kind of cute. And so they sent for me, and I went to California, and they brought me out here, and I did the picture with Chaplin. It was a bit part, but and then I came back to New York, and I worked over in New Jersey at the where they shot the serial pictures. Pearl White in The Perils of Pauline. I was the child that they saved.
They tossed you, too. didn't
Yeah, they
Come-
tossed me, and Pearl White saved me.
Yeah.
And to this day, a lot of comedians wish I had never been saved. And then from then on, I did. Then I came to the coast again and appeared with Mary Pickford. Pardon me, in Sparrows, and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, and Douglas Fairbanks Sr. in The Mock of Zorro, the original. William S. Hart. Beverly Bain and Francis X.
Those were
Bushman.
no comedies. This was all straight
I
dramatic.
did not do any
comedy.
I didn't do comedy.
That's what I mean. It's all
No.
straight acting.
Well, it wasn't
Well,
acting.
well,
because if you caught acting,
silent, yeah.
if you caught acting, you're in trouble. It was natural, and they were straight parts.
Right.
And but no dial, no sound.
Right.
Always. And I worked with Mabel Normand, and so many silent
Come on,
pictures.
about Rudy Vallee. Tell me about Rudy Vallee. That was the radio days. With
Oh,
Rudy Vallee. Was that the radio days?
Yeah, but that was after I got
After?
after I got into vaudeville.
And
I was in vaudeville back in 19.
I want to know about that.
No, before that I was in. See if I can remember all this stuff. I was in a Broadway show.
Floridora.
Florida.
Floridora. Tell me about Floridora.
You've done your homework.
I certainly have. I know a lot about Milton
was-
Berle. Tell me about Floridora. Come on.
My
Mil-
right name is not Berle.
It isn't?
It's Berlinger.
Bellinger.
Berlinger.
That is your real name?
Berlinger.
You changed it to
My mother changed it. You know why?
why?
You're going to die when I tell
Yeah.
you this. I hope not. But a little later on in my life, I said, Mama, why did you change Berlinger to Berle? She said, because I didn't think that there would be enough bulbs up in the marquee for the length of Berlinger. How do you like that?
That's very interesting.
Already she was planning ahead that she was going to try to do something with me. But I appeared in Floridora. I was in the Floridora Sextet
Right.
as a child, and that was in 1920. Then I appeared in vaudeville with a little girl by the name of Elizabeth Kennedy, and I did a dramatic act
Right.
with a little touch of comedy, impressions of Jolson and Eddie Cantor, who were popular in those days. And
But Milton, I want to know, when did Milton Berle out there as a comedian? What was the first time? What
I'll
was
tell
that?
you what happened.
I want to know. How's that
You're going-
trained? That changed the whole
You
thing.
don't want to know. They want to know.
I want to know too. So go ahead.
The training you were referring to
Right.
was appearing in vaudeville.
Right.
And prior to appearing in 1921 with Elizabeth Kennedy, I appeared in vaudeville from 1917 up in kiddie acts. And if I told you the titles of the names of the acts, you'd laugh. Because
Was Gus Edwards in those days?
No, Gus Edwards was back in
Back-
1912 with Cantor and
Cantor.
Walter Winchell.
Right.
The names of the acts was hysterical.
Who
The
were they?
Rising Generation, Tidbits of 1918, the Stardust Review, very corny. And I sang and I danced, but I didn't do any comedy. And then when I worked with Elizabeth Kennedy, it was sort of a dramatic act, and we did a skit, and I played the Palace Sooner, the B.F. Keith Palace. in New York.
2 days.
Did
the
two a day. Two a day.
Was that when it first developed as?
Well,
Because you were an
no.
MC. No, you were an MC.
No, this is back before that.
Was it really?
Yeah, this was in 1920,
Okay.
1922.
God, your life is so.
1922 when I was with the little
Right.
girl. Then, as I grew older and outgrew the little
Right,
girl,
right.
got so lanky for her, I started to branch out as a single act when I was 14 and a half. Today they call it, Skippy, they call it stand-up.
Yes. It wasn't then.
Ours was just doing a single, a male single or a female single, and you did monologues with jokes.
Yes.
And so I started that in 1924. So I've been standing on my feet all alone
For
telling jokes. I don't know whose, but
that's what you're noted for, Milton's
well,
tagging to others.
I
don't think so.
I started the whole thing myself.
You did. Go ahead.
We won't go into that
Yeah,
because
we
you'll
will.
need 12
A lot of
hours.
people think so, but go ahead.
Well, let me think. 1924, I started out as a single act.
Right.
So I had to start all over again, because then I started to do comedy. Because I had people to look up to that I would like to be like.
Right.
Like, we don't hear much of him anymore, but he was one of the funniest men in the world,
that?
and that was Ted Healy, who
Okay.
later on worked with had the Three Stooges
course.
working with him. And I looked up to great comedians such as Ted Healy and Phil Baker. I don't think the audience
Yeah.
remembered, but if you don't remember, write me and I'll tell you about them. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like them. And you have to have somebody that you put on a pedestal
course.
that you'd like to be like.
Of course.
But then you have to get your own style and be yourself and have them imitate you.
When did that happen, Milton Berle? When did it happen of your own style? Was it at the Palace Theater of the 2 a day? when you discovered Milton Berle, really Milton Berle, as what you really are today?
Well, there were 2 jumps in the palace. There were in 1922.
Right.
And then I went in there to fill in for late Jack Haley. And he was with Benny Rubin. And I filled in as MC
And you
in
stayed.
1931. And I stayed there for about
A long time.
quite a long time.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to hit a stride of knowing. See, in show business, Skippy, we usually ask ourselves 3 questions, dramatically or comedically, to ourselves.
Right.
Who am I? What am I doing here? And why? So that creates a style. And if you got your own style, you got a hell of a chance to make it big.
Make it big, yes.
Woody Allen has his style. This one, in singing, Sinatra had his
Exactly,
style.
exactly.
Presley, Streisand, singing, and comedically, they're all stylists, and
But you,
they have a point of view of their own. But in 1931,
right.
is what you're referring to, I went into the palace with one of the world's greatest comedians who was headlining, and that, may she rest in peace, she was British, and that was Beatrice Lillie.
Beatrice Lillie.
And I stayed there, and then I started to move and move and move, and then I went into the, if you want the whole...
Clubs, no, but you did a lot of clubs around.
After.
After?
Yeah,
Really?
after. I have 8 stitches underneath here.
From what?
Well, in 1931, right after I played the Palace, I went into a nightclub in New York City on 52nd Street called the Vanity
Fair.
And it was
Earl
owned,
Carroll's.
It was owned by no, it wasn't Earl
No,
Carroll.
after you went to Earl
It
Carroll's.
was
Yeah.
it was owned by some of the boys, and I was out on the floor trying to find myself as MC in a comic in 1931, coming out of the Palace.
Right.
And
Because you're dealing with people that are drinking now
yes,
in the audience.
so
that's it.
you're leading right into
Right.
something, because I was throwing lines which today is like doing love letters. It's nothing.
Yes.
I said, no drinks on the table, tourists, huh? Or I see, oh, you're out with your wife tonight. There's a novelty. And I was getting laughs, but I had no material, so I just was thinking of what to say and what other people said too. And I was talking about the stitches. So after the show was over at the Vanity Fair, the captain said, table 12 wants to see you.
Right.
And I thought, hey,
Yeah.
I was a big hit. So I walked over and I said, do you want to see me? And there were 3 hoodlums sitting at the table with some blonde beauty who looked like Barry and Kiki Roberts or a young Jean Harlow with a long cigarette holder with that style. And the guy was eating a steak, and he said, hey, come here. I said, and I walked out, I said, do you like the show? And he said, you stink. And I got a little surprised because he didn't like it. He says, sit down, not have a drink, take a drink. I said, I'm sorry, sir, I don't drink. He says, but you will. And he got very rough with me, and he was eating a steak. Well, he said, I didn't like what you said about me at the table. No drinks on the table or something. I don't like that. I don't like you. And he took this fork, Skippy, and he went, boom,
On your chin.
under my chin,
Aye.
napkins and everything. He was from the Murder Incorporated group over in East New York and
Right.
Brooklyn. Murder Incorporated, his name, and he's gone, was Pretty Amberg, and his bodyguard at that time was Lepke. And the girl, I don't know who the girl was, but he had 2 bodyguards, Italian, Jews, I don't know what they
Yes.
were, but Irish, but they carried me out of there. And I said, I got to be careful when I'm taking care of or I'm throwing lines. taking care of a heckler is different.
Tough in clubs, because I used to work clubs and strip joints, Milton, and I did the same thing working with drunks and girls out there.
Well, interrupting you.
But may I say something to you? Texaco. You took over the television.
Yeah, but
you got.
you jumped something just
I
now.
want. Okay, you want me to jump? Go
No,
ahead.
you did
I
jump.
did. Like when
First you asked me, show you how bad my memory is, you asked me about Rudy Vallee.
Right. I'm going to go back to that anyway. I was going to go back to
In
that. That's the radio days.
radio days, in 1929,
Right.
Rudy Vallee had the Fleischman Yeast Hour
Right.
on radio.
Right.
It was #1, singing My Time is Your Time through
Right.
the megaphone. And they were looking for some comedy relief on the show.
Right.
And they auditioned 3 people. And I was the one that they took. And the one that they auditioned was Bob Hope. And well, Skelton wasn't around. I don't know who it was. I think it was Lou Holtz,
Right.
who was known as for the Lapidus jokes.
Good comedian.
Yes. And so they took me, and I was on with Rudy for about 37 weeks. Pardon me. And I got to get a room or something because I'm coughing here. And it's not the cigar.
I put a deposit down for you, so go ahead.
Please. And I was on there for 32 weeks. And it wasn't easy. I was doing what they call today a stand-up.
Right, right.
But how many minutes do you think
Did you write all your material, or you had it written for you?
I didn't have any money to write material.
You had to steal things from people's
No, I
ideas,
didn't. I
or what?
read it out of magazines, out of College Humor, Captain Billy's Whiz Bang, George Rosner's Pan, jokes out of books.
Right, right, right. Reader's Digest, all those.
Yeah,
whatever.
well, Reader's Digest wasn't too funny at the time. But I had jokes like she was a Statue of Liberty girl, she was lit up every night, you know, easy jokes.
Yes.
Today they gotta die. Now, the progression, if you want to skip and go to the text code.
I do, because I have a lot to talk to you
Well,
about.
in 1947, I was on.
Texaco.
I was on radio, but I did a lot of Broadway shows since.
Right, right.
In 32, I was in Earl Carroll's Vanities.
Right.
And in, before that, in 28, I was in George White's Scandals.
White Scandals.
And then in 35, I was in the Ziegfeld Follies with Hope.
Tell me about the Ziegfeld, real quick, about Ziegfeld Follies with Hope.
Well, Hope.
That's.
Hope was. We weren't vying with each other, but
Right.
we were both doing stand-up singles, if you want to call
That's what I
that.
mean, too.
And he was very charming, had the great American boy look, and I think the jobs that I could have done, he got, which is all right.
Okay.
It's fine. That's the way it works.
That's great. Yeah.
If they want you, they want you. If they don't want
You
you.
have no bitterness. That's great.
Oh,
You-
wow,
you-
I've got nothing to be bitter about.
No, you had a. Now, Texaco. I want to go into it.
Well, I was on
That's-
for radio. I was on a lot of radio programs of my own, and then
The Milton Berle Show, right?
Oh, well, quite a few.
Many of
I have
them.
not too many to
Right.
mention. And I was never a very big hit, by the way. I must be honest with you, Skip, on this show, because you do believe in honesty on the show. I was never a very big hit on radio because I was too visual.
Right, right.
You had to see me do
Yes.
shticks and
Yeah.
pies in the face and everything, and too visual, and
Right.
they couldn't fantasize it on radio. You had to fantasize
Right,
on radio.
right.
And I was then I was on for radio for Texaco. After Ed Wynn was the fire chief, I took over that,
Right.
and then
The skits on that. Did you write them, or they those skits?
the writers,
The writers on the skits of that show.
Oh, on
because
the-
a great show.
the radio show, you mean?
No, the Texaco. Yes,
Well,
the radio show.
the radio show.
Yeah.
No, I had the greatest writers.
Great.
The head writer is gone now, but he was one of the greatest. Nat Hiken, who created the Phil Silvers show, and he worked for Fred Allen for years. And if you look at the list of the writers, we could afford it then, back in '47.
Right.
Of the list of the writers that I had, you couldn't pay them today because there was Neil Simon and his brother Danny. There was Aaron Rubin. They're all producers and directors and writers now. There was Norman Lear, Ed Simmons, Coleman Jacoby, all these big,
Right.
big writers, Mel Brooks, Hal Collins, all tremendous successes. A lot of them have left us, but they were brilliant writers. Today, unfortunately, at their age,
Right.
if they're in their 70s today,
Still
they
be great.
couldn't get a job. As brilliant as they were,
Right.
and they can still write. For example,
Why is that, you think? Because the...
well, the networks. Let's talk about the networks.
Yeah.
They have what they call age groups, and 16 to
18.
25,
That's right.
18 to 25. What is the listing? What are the demographics
Right,
on this
right,
and that?
right.
And they have an A group, B group, C group, and the older writers that were tremendously successful and are still around can't get jobs.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because they're brilliant. Now we have a lot of young writers around, write Cheers and shows like
Right.
that.
It's a great show.
But there's only a couple survivors, and that's a young fellow by the name of Larry Gelbart, who started when he was 15 and 16 and wrote for Sid Caesar and the Show of Shows. And he wrote for me, and he started MASH. He wrote MASH
Right.
and was on for 10 years. And he's got this big hit show,
Right.
which is opening tomorrow night, Wednesday night.
At City of Angels.
City of Angels,
right.
which is really great. It's a big hit in New York. And he wrote Funny Thing Happened at the
Forum.
Forum. And he's one of the brilliant writers who has retained and sustained his, I don't know how old he is, but he's not in his 70s, maybe he's early 61. I saw something very funny. I got to stop for a minute, talking about not being able to get jobs. I saw a guy walking on Cannon Drive with a sandwich sign. You know those
Right,
sandwich signs?
right.
Eat it at Joe's Deli
Yep.
or Nate and Al's.
That's unusual in Beverly Hills.
It's a joke.
Right.
It's a joke.
I know.
But I
Massive-
started it off so honestly, you thought
Yes.
it was. And Onity says, we'll write, direct, and produce for food. For food.
That's funny.
It's very sad. That's very sad.
I know what you mean.
Because they have age brackets now.
Right.
And the networks, I'm not talking about the syndication, the satellites, and Turner and everything, and we only got a couple of more minutes.
Right, but I really want to get into Mr. Berle, Uncle Milty. When did that all start?
Well,
How
that's
did
a
that
long
happen?
story. That'll take too long.
Well,
That'll take too long how I got that name.
that name, okay, because you are Mr.
You know,
Television.
can I
This-
just say something
Yeah.
before we, because we haven't got, and I
I
got to be on
understand.
the set in December. So
They're doing your life story on Broadway, I heard.
That's what I wanted.
Tell me about this.
It's in production now. It's a Broadway musical on
Musical.
my life story. It's tentatively called Milton and Me.
Right.
Who's the me?
Who is the me? I think it's your lovely wife, Ruth.
No.
No? Milton?
Who was?
Who?
My mother.
Your mother. Oh, yes, I see.
And
Your
it's
mother.
not it's
Of
not the
course.
story that you think it is. It's a silver cord story. It's a dramatic story. It's the backstory of what the people know me as a comedian. It's back to 1913 and 14.
This is Calvin Myers of Parsippany, New Jersey. He's only 15 years old, and already he's an expert on Danis plexippus and Agrolus vanilli. Now, don't run for your dictionary. You can get all the details right here.
It's a fact. As class size goes down, test scores go up. When California reduced overcrowding in kindergarten through third grade, kids did better in both English and math. But many California schools are out of space. Prop 26 will make it easier for local communities to build the classrooms needed to reduce class size and improve test scores for all California kids. And under Prop 26, bond money can only be spent to build new schools or fix broken ones. Vote yes on 26.
The Moneyline News Hour, weeknight 6:30 Eastern on CNN.
So whose office is decorated in florals, leopard spots, and a whole lot of pink? It belongs to Cosmopolitan's Helen Gurley Brown. She's 76 years old now, but her biggest fans are in their 20s. Helen Gurley Brown's big break came after she published her book, Sex and the Single Girl, and she's still writing. Her new memoir came out just this month. It's called I'm Wild Again, snippets from my life and a few brazen thoughts.
They'll need a few bold thoughts in Northern Ireland, a major setback today for the peace process there. Finally tonight, the end of an era at newsstands everywhere. Sunday's comics will contain the last original Peanuts. The daily strips ended early last month after therapy for cancer forced cartoonist Charles Schulz into retirement.
And that prompted other cartoonists to discuss Schulz's influence on their work with newsstands' Bruce Perkart. Schulz doesn't do many interviews, although yesterday he did call in to KSRO Radio in Santa Rosa, California.
There are still good comic strips around. There are a lot of good ones, and there's some good people that are working very hard. And I'm just pleased that somehow I've been able to kind of point up to other people that the comic strip art is an art.
When he walked in the room, it was, you know, like the seas parting, and there was Charles Schulz, and he's such a handsome man, and he has such a gentle, generous presence about him.
Yeah, Sparky and I, we call him Sparky because it's named after a comic character called Sparkplug.
I tell everyone that it's the reason I became a cartoonist. Again, I grew up with Peanuts. There wasn't a time for me that there wasn't Peanuts.
For me, every time, my heart skips a beat when I see Sparky because I know he'd hate to hear me say it, but he's a living legend.
It is a small fraternity, this band of cartoonists, each with a different style, a different brand of humor, but united by the adoration of their hero.
I think that if Peanuts had not paved the way in the newspaper for a comic strip to write about real personal angst and vulnerabilities, there never would have been a place for Kathy or comic strips like mine.
Peanuts was an inspiration in that when I created Garfield, I wanted the same kinds of relationships. Not the same types of relationships, but I wanted, you know, honest interaction between the characters.
Like Charles Schulz, these cartoonists all confront the never-ending deadlines. 6 dailies and 1 Sunday strip every single week. Jim Davis, the man behind Garfield, Patrick McDonnell of Mutz, Mort Walker, who gave us Beetle Bailey, and Kathy Geiswhite, creator of Kathy. For us readers, Peanuts may have been a simple pleasure, but for them, it was much more, a model of artful economy that revolutionized the funny pages.
Peanuts was a comic strip about the real human condition, and the characters, Lucy's arrogance and Charlie Brown's wishy-washiness and Lioness's beautiful, hopeful spirituality and Snoopy's exuberance. It was, for the first time, a comic strip that put angst and aggravation and humiliation and embarrassment and desperation and loneliness into the comic pages, and it redefined humor.
Before that, in the 40s, the 30s, cartoons were big gags, hit in the face with a pie on desert islands, driving cars, whatever it was for the gag. And he brought the comic strip situation right down to real life, something we could identify with.
From a cartooning point of view, it's beautiful art. I think it's like he's a Zen master of, you know, with so little saying so much. One of the things that always amazed me about Peanuts is his facial expressions and how you really know what the characters are thinking. I mean, it's just, you know, 2 little pen and ink dots for eyes and a little squiggle for a mouth.
I started on September 4th, 1950, and he started in October 1950.
Mort Walker, who gave us Beetle Bailey and 8 other comic strips over the years, started his strip 1 month before Peanuts in 1950. And in 1974, he started this, the International Museum of Cartoons in Boca Raton, Florida.
just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again. You don't know how much I've missed all of you. And I promise you I'll never desert you again. Because after Salome, we'll make another picture and another picture. You see, this is my life. It always will be. There's nothing else. Just us. And the cameras. And those wonderful people out there in the dark. All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
So do you.
Grew up in Chicago? Born in Chicago?
Only born.
Raised in New York?
Yep. From infancy onward, all I knew was New York City.
A Powers model. Tell me about that. At what age?
16.
Really?
Yeah, it was a fluke. The photographer who took all the yearbook pictures, graduation time, I went to Horace Mann School, a very wonderful school in New York, and they happened to take my picture to show in how many sizes and glossy or dull finish one could order. And so there was my dear face all over the wall when people came in to get their pictures. And a photographer who shared the studio with the yearbook photographer got some sort of hunch and looked me up and asked my mother if she thought I might be interested in doing some modeling. That's how it all came about.
Vogue, cover in Vogue, Harper, all these wonderful bizarre.
Well, not cover so much as fashion stuff. Yeah,
really?
I was tall and thin and had the right build for fashion. It's funny, Skip, I was a short model for
short
clothes.
model? Really?
Yeah, they were all about 5, 9, 10, 11, and I was not quite 5'7". I craned up to get as tall as I could. I was a fairly short fashion model, and I was suddenly a very short, a very tall movie actress.
Did you enjoy doing modeling at that time when you were?
Yes, yes. I loved clothes, and the great variety was exciting. It was still the Depression, and one didn't have all the clothes we would have
But
liked.
it must make you feel good during the Depression, to make other people feel good with clothing, right?
Yes, it was all a Never Never Land. You were wearing elaborate and beautiful and far more expensive things than you could afford.
Right.
And, yeah, it was fun. The changing got pretty hectic when you did fashion shows, but you got used to that. And,
Mother, voice teacher?
She didn't teach singing. She was a voice coach.
A voice coach.
She taught rendition and repertoire to concert singers and opera singers. Mother was a great accompanist. She didn't compete with singers. She enhanced them. She really made a singer sound better.
She groomed him. Really, yeah, she groomed him.
Well, it wasn't a battle of egos. And I've heard some accompanists that are competing with the voice.
True.
Never Mother. She breathed with a singer.
There's a guy in New York City called Carlo Menotti. Not Giancarlo of the opera, but there's Carlo Menotti. He did the same thing as your mother did, just train people, like Fabian. He couldn't sing. Fabian couldn't sing years ago, and they sent him
Mother
there.
could. I don't know that she ever wanted to be a singer. She had wanted to be an actress, and that was not allowed because she was a minister's daughter. And that was sinful. Paint your face, get up with lights on you in front of people. But it was all right to sit at a piano keyboard up on a stage.
Is it a tight family?
So she became a musician.
Tight family?
Very.
Close,
a
very
wonderful,
close?
blessed family. I had one sister, and we had the best possible life together, all of us.
Arrived in Hollywood. Who called you? What happened, Marsha? I mean, they
That's
saw
a
your
very
picture on the
often
cover.
told tale. Well, it was my modeling that did it. But if I had not been ready, if I had not worked at played at acting all my life.
You did study.
Oh yeah.
While you were
Wherever
modeling.
there was a play, I was in it. Summer camp, Sunday school, president of the dramatic club, you know all that.
So Marsha Hunt was just not a model then. She just
No, she
prepared.
was going to be an actress, and the reason she did modeling was to learn whether or not she photographed, about makeup and hair and grooming and all those things. You know, Skip, there was no training for film. In the whole country, there was no course to be had in motion pictures. It was on-the-job training, you know, or none. And the only kind of training there was for acting was for the live theater. So I went to a dramatic school for the theater
Right.
in New York,
Right.
instead of college where you couldn't major in drama before your third year.
Mhm.
And since I knew what I wanted to do, I stayed in New York and did that instead. And the modeling was just another, that was the photographic part of it, since there was no specific training for movies.
But Paramount Studios, Marsha Hunt, very young, 16, 17.
I was
think
17 by then, yeah.
Ah,
No, that was,
thriving at Paramount, Marsha Hunt.
it
Tell
was
me.
beginner's luck.
What do you
Skip.
mean beginner's luck?
Well, yeah. I had a really painstaking test of 3 different scenes. They gave 3 weeks of training for it. And it was the most careful, lovingly wrought test. And luckily, I was much too happy to be nervous. I mean, here it was, the thing I'd been dreaming of.
Of course.
And it was a good, lucky test. And
7 years at Paramount?
no, only 3 of the 7.
3?
Because I was not a
But
happy...
you did sign a 7-year contract.
Oh, yeah, that was the standard thing.
Right.
But they threw me right into leads. The first time, Skip, I was ever paid to act. I played the feminine lead, the romantic lead, in a Paramount feature picture shown around the world.
John Wayne. Come
Yeah,
on,
he was
John
among,
Wayne.
among the leading men, yeah.
Marsha Hunt.
Well, John Wayne was not big news in 1936 or 7.
Oh, he wasn't then.
Oh, he was among all the Western leading men. He had not yet made Stagecoach. And I understand that John Ford saw the movie John and I made together and said, that's the man I want for Stagecoach.
Well, that's where he got
And
his-
it all started happening from then on.
So when you arrived at Paramount, makeup, hair, to change the whole look of Marsha Hunt, acting, you know, contracts, school, voice, dancing, everything.
No, I didn't do training. I was too
No
busy
training at
making
all?
movies. No training.
So that was your training right there on the set?
Making movies was my training.
Didn't they put you under, like the stock people, when they put stock people, didn't they train them years after that, maybe?
I think a lot of the young players were doing that.
Right, but you didn't.
It was weird, Skip. I was 17, but I was an adult. I had been out of school for a year. I was a somewhat trained young actress. And I loved Phyllis Lawton, the dramatic coach there, who later became the mayor of Beverly Hills.
Yes.
And married George Seaton, a great writer-director. But Phyllis, in fact, I went to their wedding and their baby shower, the whole thing. Phyllis and I were friends, and I would come in and visit with her rather than work with her, which is ridiculous. You would have thought I knew what I was doing, and I was finding out as I went along.
Favorite director? Who was your favorite director at that time when you were very young? Who would you say, Marsha Hunt?
I didn't get to work for any really...
There were some great directors
really
those
brilliant
days.
director until I went to MGM, and that was some years later. I guess I had maybe 2 favorites. One was Fred Zinnemann, and I was happy to be in his very first feature film.
Was what?
He'd been doing tests and shorts and things like Crime Does Not Pay and stuff like that, and he was ready for that first feature. It was a charming comedy, mystery, murder thing called Kid Glove Killer with Van Heflin and Lee Bowman.
Van Heflin, there's another actor that
Good
worked
actor.
all the time.
I did 3 with Van.
Yeah, I know you did, yeah.
He's a
So you
fine
did the other night with Margaret O'Brien on television. It was interesting, that wonderful picture you did, Lost Angels.
Oh, wasn't that a lovely thing?
I saw
That's
Margaret.
one of my favorite scripts. I love it.
Did you like that?
Oh, yeah, I adored it.
Craig, what was his name?
James Craig.
James Craig.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Did several with him. We were in the human comedy as well.
Right.
And then he played a young lead, second lead, in one of the westerns I did at Paramount. He was hot off a football field somewhere, but he looked just vaguely like Gable, and hired him. They had about 3 waiting in the wings Gables in case anything happened to Clark, and he was among them. James Davis was one, and John Carroll. You remember all
John
of
Carroll,
them?
of course.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Clark Gable, tell me.
I
What
never
kind of guy?
worked with him, but he was, I had one lovely experience with Gable. I was in Hong Kong, about to head home to be there for Christmas with my husband, and I went by a wonderful shop, a Dynasty shop in the Peninsula Hotel to pick up a custom-made cocktail suit that I was going to wear for a very special Christmas Eve party. And it wasn't ready. And I was wailing about that and saying, oh dear, I so hoped I could have it. He said, well, we'll have it for you tomorrow. And I said, but I'm catching a plane. I'm leaving in 2 hours.
Right.
And Gable was in the shop and he overheard this and he said, listen, I can pick it up for you and bring it over. I'm leaving in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So when it's ready, I'll pick it up for you. And he did. And I was so excited to be home with my husband, I forgot to mention this. And
was your husband a director, the first one?
No, he was a writer.
A writer.
This was Robert Presnell.
Robert Presnell, yeah, Presnell. That was your second husband, wasn't it? Yeah.
And so he said that, he came to me and he said, is there something you haven't told me? Gable? Is there some story that slipped your mind about Clark Gable? And I said, oh yeah, he said he would bring, he said, well, he just called up. And when he said, this is Clark Gable, I of course gave him a salty answer because of course it wasn't Clark Gable, only it was. And so he said that he'd be coming by in a few minutes and bring me my suit, which is probably the highest priced delivery boy in history, don't you think?
Yes. Louis B. Mayer, come on, Marsha Hunt. Was he a tough guy, or was he just,
I
tell me.
think almost any adjective you could think of, except maybe handsome, would apply to L.B. Mayer. He was a very bright man and had an instinct for fine films and for talent.
He knew, didn't he?
Which built MGM to be the predominant studio of all. He was emotional, he was sentimental, he was harsh and impatient. He was all kinds of things, but he made great films.
Some of the favorite films you did at MGM, you did so many.
Yes, I did.
What, 60, 70, I don't know, but going down the line.
62 all
62?
told, yeah. Only about 20 of those were for Metro, I guess.
20?
Maybe more,
Some of your
I don't know.
favorites. Do you have some, I know you said Lost Angels, but others?
I don't know. You know, I don't have any single favorite, Skip, because the happiest part of my movie making was the range of roles I was allowed to play. Oh, let me finish. I want to go back. You asked about a favorite director.
Yes.
And I mentioned Fred, whom I loved, Cinnamon.
Right.
But a man that I made 2 films for and was just ecstatically happy with, and he wound up directing my first play on Broadway, was Jules Dassin. Do you know that name?
Of course.
When he went to France,
is that Marlene McCurry's husband?
Never on Sunday.
Of course.
Wonderful film.
Of course, wonderful.
They started calling him Jules Dassin when he got to France, and he was Jules Dassin of New York City.
New York City.
Who he was. But Julie was an inspired comedy director. And I had made 2 comedies for him at Metro. So when this play came up for Broadway, and I had never done a live play professionally, ever, anywhere, and suddenly I was asked to star on Broadway in my very first play. The fact that Julie was going to direct it gave me some of the courage to take the leap. Yeah.
That's great.
Wonderful director.
Smash Up. Oh, what a movie.
Oh, that's going to be shown very soon at the County Museum
Is it really?
of Art. Yeah, they're doing a series of films, women's films.
Women's films. That is a real women's film. Oh, what a good movie.
I guess.
That is a good movie.
Well, it must be very popular. I think
Working
it's
with
probably
this
been
great
on television more than any film.
Who's some of the people in that film now?
That was Susan
Hayward, yes, but
the,
who's the guy? I can't remember the...
That was Lee Bowman.
Lee Bowman,
again.
that's it.
And Eddie
wonderful.
Albert.
Yes.
Was very good in it, yeah.
Did she win the award for... Wasn't she nominated?
No, not for Smash Up.
She should have.
I think she won for, was it I'll Cry Tomorrow?
I'll Cry Tomorrow, but she should have won for Smash Up, too. She was dynamite.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
Marsha, you said you play ranges of roles.
I
you are. You do.
I
my God.
Played my first old lady when I was 21.
Really?
And my first Brooklyn chorus girl, complete with Brooklyn accent, and unwed mothers, society snobs, farm girls, school teachers, you name it. Maybe the pet, maybe, well,
you love comedies, though. You do comedies, romantic comedies.
I was just going to mention, which was not at all romantic, but it was comedy.
Comedy,
was Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, great. Yes.
And that was with Greer Garson and Olivier.
Working with Olivier. What kind of guy?
Alas, I didn't have one scene with him, but I had already lost my heart to him.
Did you really?
And yeah, I saw him in probably a very bad film, but it didn't matter. I got his message very quickly.
What does he have?
It was called, I think, Moscow Nights, and it was before anybody had really discovered him.
When he walks into a
Prejudice.
room, when he walks into a room,
Yeah.
Olivia, does he have that certain?
He did indeed.
He does.
Yeah. He was busy memorizing Romeo. He was about to do Romeo and Juliet with Vivian Leigh on the stage. And he sort of did Pride and Prejudice with his left hand. You know, he had his nose in the Shakespeare text.
Right, right.
And they'd suddenly say, "We're ready, Mr. Olivier." And, you know, he'd get up and be snobbish for a minute, and then he'd come back to Romeo. That was where his whole concentration was. But it was exciting to me just to be on the same set with him.
I just interviewed Carol Lynley. You did a great movie with her.
Yes, Blue Denim.
Blue Denim,
yes.
with Brandon DeWile. Whew, tell me about this wonderful actor, and that was a great movie.
It was a very advanced movie for the late 1950s.
Late 50s, yes, it was.
It was about teenage pregnancy.
Ooh, okay.
And they had not dealt with that on the big screen, and this one did. It was a Broadway play made into a film. MacDonald Carey and I were Brandon, and he pronounced it DeWilde. I don't know why.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, I remember writing a poem about Brandon DeWilde certainly filled a need I had for a teenage lad. It went on and on. But Brandon was a darling. I had seen him on Broadway in Member of the Wedding with Ethel Waters and Julie Harris.
I remember that.
That was
I remember
a
that,
historic
yeah.
play. And Brandon was, I don't know, 7 or something when he did that.
So he was a
it
child
lovely
actor, wasn't he?
working with
Really a child actor, Brandon. Tragic, tragic life.
Yeah.
What happened? Such a tragic
I'm not
life.
sure. I'm not sure how he died, just that he died very young. And not terribly long after we made that film together.
Carol loved him.
Carol was so beautiful. They came over and played tennis at my house, and I loved them both like children. Carol was so pretty, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. How is she these days?
She's fine. I just interviewed her. She's just a darling
What's she
girl.
doing?
She is living in Malibu right now. Her house is saved.
She didn't get burned out?
No,
Good,
Her house is perfectly saved. She did a talk show for a while in New York, in Manhattan Cable.
Oh,
and that's what she was
really?
doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Evidently she's going around with Jack Haley Jr., having a good time around Hollywood.
Good, good.
I loved it. You have a book coming out right now.
I do indeed.
Oh, come on. MGM days of The Way We Wore.
That's right.
I like this. Let's show this. Can we show? This is the
I
book. The
love it.
cover. Look at this. Beautiful cover. Marsha Hunt. Look how elegant you are there.
That was quite a gown.
Oh,
That
who made
was
this gown?
Irene.
Irene.
At MGM, yeah.
Oh, who's some of the great ladies like?
The designers?
Designers, the best.
Irene was maybe my favorite. The only thing that Adrian designed that I was in was Pride and Prejudice with hoop skirts. And that wasn't very
Oh, this is
current.
a lovely gown right
but
here.
Travis Banton, and I say,
This
oh,
is
that's
lovely.
Irene
Can I
also.
is
That's
this Irene?
where-
Can I show this?
That's Lost Angel,
Can I
where
see
I'm
this?
a nightclub singer.
Can I see this? Here we go. Look at that. That's beautiful.
Wonderful gown.
This is great.
And I don't know.
And this is
what
another
else
one.
do you
What's
have?
this?
Oh, that's a pantsuit. Now, that looks absolutely current, and who would believe it was 50 years ago?
This was 50 years ago.
Yeah, look at the broad shoulders.
Look at that.
And the pleated slacks.
This was at MGM days?
MGM.
These are all MGM.
Yeah, the ones you're showing are all Metro,
This
but
is
the
I
first
like.
half of
This
the
I
book
like.
is
Very
largely
nice.
Paramount.
This is lovely.
Because the picture shows 30s and 40s fashions. Yeah, that's...
Tell me about the book, Marsha. It's the styles of the 30s and the 40s, right? Tell me more about it.
Well, I guess because I had been a model, and they had to keep publicizing me because I was making so many movies, it seemed logical to have me pose in clothes.
Right.
So I made maybe more fashion pictures than any other actress around that time.
Right.
And
best dressed woman around MGM?
Oh.
You were noted. Marsha Hunt, you were noted.
Well, the publicity department decided that. I don't know why. I was in pretty fast company at MGM.
Joan Crawford you had?
You
You had
name
who
them
else?
all.
Oh.
You know. Lana Turner.
Lana Turner.
And Myrna Loy and Rosalind
Tell me about
Russell.
Lana Turner. Let's go back to
Lana?
MGM.
Oh,
Tell me
I
about-
was
love
in
her.
a picture that was Lana's very first leading role.
Really?
Yeah. It was called These Glamour Girls.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And
that's
there
right.
were young debutantes
Right.
attending a really, they had Princeton in mind, but they called it Kingston.
Uh-huh.
And it was Lew Ayres and Richard Carlson and Tom Brown and Peter Lind Hayes. I won't get all 6 of them, but it was Lana's first lead, and she was awfully good in it.
They always say she was discovered at Schwab's. She wasn't. She was discovered across the street from Hollywood High
Hollywood
School.
High.
There was a little confection shop there,
Yeah.
and that's where she told me this.
Well, Schwab's was more famous than somebody.
Someone
just
started
improved
that.
the
Is that
story,
it?
yeah.
Is that it?
But
This is
she
lovely.
was discovered, I think, at a soda fountain.
At a soda
that
fountain.
was the thing.
Yeah, okay. This is nice. This is
Oh,
lovely.
that is
Can
one
I
of Irene's gowns. There's a story to that.
Yes?
Skip.
What is it?
Well, that was for the Human Comedy, in which I played a very rich girl. And Irene wanted to outdo herself for splendor. And this was war years. And there was just one piece of lace left at MGM in the wardrobe department, and there wasn't quite enough to make a full gown. So she designed all those ruffles in front to fill out. You couldn't import lace anymore. The submarines of Hitler were sinking all the ships. So she designed this extra flounce. And can you show it?
Yes.
Right down the front
Here,
and
let's
at
see
the
it.
cuffs.
Let's see it
and
again.
that filled in the missing amount of lace.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And with necessity, she invented a very beautiful style. But
You've
that was
always wore
Irene.
your hair this way, didn't you?
Not always, but I became kind of identified with it because Sidney Gilleroff, who was the head hairstylist at Metro, kind of concocted the style on my head. And I wore it in a lot of movies. And gee, it really caught on. Before long, every actress at Metro was wearing short curly hair. They called it the feather cut because the short curls were like loose ringlets around a very fitted crown.
Marsha Hunt, looking back, did you say you had a good time?
Oh, the time of my life.
Really? You must have, because...
Of course. See, what I wanted, Skip, was variety, and they let me at Metro. They let me play this range of roles, and I had an acting binge. Instead of getting typecast, which was the custom then.
Right.
And that was how you built stardom, was if you specialized in one particular kind of role that you exemplified or were becomingly cast in. And they were no two alike. I was ecstatic. I had a wonderful time at Metro. And you know, I didn't know that the golden age, I knew the age was golden, but I didn't know it would end so soon. And the great day of studios.
What do you think of Hollywood
ended.
today, Marsha Hunt?
I don't even know it.
You don't?
I'm not a part of it. I work on TV occasionally. I haven't made a film.
Because when you walk into a television station today, like Murder, She Wrote, they're not friendly, all these people, because their togetherness, and you're a stranger, because they're together.
The turnover is awfully quick.
It's a turnover.
You're only on it several days, and
it's not like the
the ticking clock and the budget are the ruling things. No, at the major studios, you were part of a huge family, and you all knew each other at least to say hi to, or as you passed on the lot and in the commissary.
Come on, tell me about that MGM commissary. I've been there many times.
Yeah.
I've never seen, it was so fun.
Well, that day at MGM, almost every thrilling name and face
Ava
worked there.
Gardner, I used to see all the time.
She was just starting then when I was there. And Ava played a bit. She played a car hop at a drive-in restaurant to Lee Bowman and me in Cape Love Killer. It may have been her first picture, I don't know. But Ava was breathtakingly beautiful. But there was Hedy Lamarr, who was maybe the most beautiful face, to my mind, that ever hit the screen.
What kind of lady was she, Hedy?
She was very dear, and she
was?
worked very hard at acting, and all anybody could see was that gorgeousness. I remember one day coming out of the makeup department, she and I were sort of together, and some producers were passing, and they said, "Hey, Eddie, we just saw your dailies, your rushes." And she said, "Oh, how was I?" And they said, "Well, you're not getting any uglier." And she said, "Oh, Marsha, why won't they ever tell me how my work is? If my acting is any good." All they talked about was the beauty.
What has been the hardest for Marsha Hunt?
The hardest? What, in career?
Because you've had, in your life. I'm just talking about your life now, your life, because you've been through a lot in after, you know?
I guess the blacklist.
The blacklist.
Being
Tell me about
deprived
that.
of work.
Tell me what happened there,
Well, I
Marsha.
didn't have a clue about communism. I wasn't even interested in it, but sure stopped working because I went to Washington to protest what that committee was doing about Hollywood and scaring moviegoers to death and saying that Hollywood was in the hands of communists and that there was a lot of subversive material in movies. There wasn't. And so I was part of that plane load with Bogart and Bacall and Danny
Lee Grant
Kaye
and all those
and
people.
Gene Kelly. Very talented bunch on that flight.
Right.
And we just went back there to set the record straight.
And they called you communism, isn't that?
I stopped working.
Stop. Did it really hurt your career?
That's whatever happened to Marsha Hunt.
Really, Marsha?
Yeah, I was blacklisted. Nobody ever subpoenaed me
How
or
did
called me
How
before
did you
hearing.
feel this, Marsha? Americans doing this to you? Your own country?
It was so bad.
Because you're such caring. And
I worked pretty hard during the war. I had done everything
Yes.
it was possible to do to help the effort, and I thought I was probably as good a citizen as the next person,
Right.
certainly. And it was so baffling, so mysterious, and you couldn't see the enemy. You didn't know who that was. And oddly, I had no problem with the public. It was just the people that handed out jobs. The studio heads turned cowards. They were told by the banks that backed them that they must not employ anyone who had ever been a communist or still was, or about whom there was any controversy,
right,
any suspicion of being too liberal. And I guess that was me. I was too liberal. So that's what happened. That was very rough.
But
And it
now-
never really came back, except that I, in the meantime, had discovered live theater and fallen in love with audiences and the fact that
you did a
could
lot of live theater after that, your musicals and meet me.
start in 6 plays on Broadway.
Broadway.
And maybe 30 plays in stock and Los Angeles and,
You live in the Valley.
Yes.
You're the mayor of San Fernando.
No, of
what?
Sherman Oaks.
Sherman Oaks?
Yeah.
Okay, I get confused.
I'm the honorary
Anything in the
mayor.
Valley, I get very confused, Marsha.
Well, you know, the Valley has about 25 communities.
Oh, really?
But they're all Los Angeles.
So you're the mayor of Sherman Oaks?
Yes.
And,
Honorary mayor.
Honorary. But you help a lot of people. Your love in life right now is helping the homeless,
Oh, the
which I am
homeless.
too. This is
Yeah.
my love too. And you help the homeless. You started
to the
something.
extent that
Tell
we
me
can.
about.
Well, yeah, I got so concerned that there was nothing ready for homeless people in the Valley. See, the Valley's pretty new. It just came into being after World War II, and nobody ever thought about hard times and the fact that there would be people with no roof over them and who were destitute. And the recession was really taking toll of Valley people. A lot of the homeless were our former neighbors.
Right.
They suddenly, too many Americans live to the next paycheck. And I don't think they've been brought up as I was to think about a rainy day, to keep savings ready in case of hard times. And suddenly, when people were dropped off the payroll, they suddenly couldn't meet the house payment or the rent. And when unemployment ran out, which it finally does, it was out in the street. And they were sort of in shock. How could this happen to me? So I got busy and formed an honorary mayor.
Welcome, this is Jim.
Lowe again. Our guest today created the role of Hugo in the original Broadway cast of Bye Bye Birdie. Since then, he has appeared in many notable movies, including Bonnie and Clyde, Big Faust and Little Halsey, and the current Dick Tracy. Join us in welcoming actor Michael J. Pollard. And now, here's your man of the half hour, Skippy Lowe.
Michael, New Jersey.
Yes.
Is that where you're really from?
Yes, I am really from
Really
here,
from New
Skippy.
Jersey. You went to New York. Did you? You went to the actor studio right away? Is that it? What made Michael J. Pollard get into acting?
Well, Skippy, I was really lucky. I came right off the street and started acting right away. Nobody could believe it.
Uh-huh.
I started, yeah.
You didn't study at all immediately?
Well, I studied with Lee Strasberg.
After, right.
Well, probably at the same time I came.
Yeah, but you were in classes with Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, Skip.
Paul Newman.
Yeah.
Come on.
George Maharis.
George Maharis. Okay, George. But George C. Scott, what happened about that play you did?
Well, that was Comes a Day with George C. Scott.
Right.
And Judith Anderson. Very big crowd pleaser at the Actors Studio. Everybody went to see it.
Did they?
Yeah.
Was it exciting for Michael J. Pollard to be on the same stage with George C. Scott?
Yeah, Joe Papp was the stage manager.
Uh-huh.
Well, I was his roommate.
You were?
Yes, Skippy.
How long were you his roommate?
Well, up in Boston at the Terrain Hotel and...
Terrain? Uh-huh.
Yes, Skippy.
It's a theatrical hotel.
Yeah.
I know that hotel.
And then down in the village where he lived with Colleen.
Uh-huh.
So...
You had fun in those days?
Those
looking back, yeah. You had a lot of fun those days, Michael?
Yeah, I guess you might say they were my salad days.
But
Skippy.
did you tell me,
What?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
The Actors Studio.
Yes.
Lee Strasberg, the method. Did you think that turned the whole generation of actors like James Dean and Brando, Michael J. Pollard?
Shelley Winters?
Shelley Winters, yes. Tell me about that, those days. I mean, you really changed the whole thing of acting.
I know, it was very exciting in those days, Skippy. There was an electricity in the air.
Like what?
Well, just like, at that time, there was, play on Broadway, there was plays like, Death of a Salesman, Streetcar.
Right. Death of the Salesman, Streetcar, and Night of the Iguana, Shelley and Betty Davis. All these people, they were...
That's right.
Would you consider Betty Davis a method? No, she was not.
She was Betty Davis. Betty Davis eyes.
Betty Davis eyes. I like that. Michael J. Pollard, tell me, what's the play that you mostly enjoyed doing first in New York?
On Broadway?
On Broadway.
Well, I like...
Because you did Bye Bye Birdie.
Yeah.
That was a musical.
Yes.
With, who's that?
Dick Van Dyke and Cheetah Rivera. And
Tell me
Paul
about that. Tell me about that.
Well, that ran 2 years, and when I auditioned, I met Charles Strauss, the writer in Downey's, in the men's room, and he said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Just like Frank Sinatra." So I auditioned. I sang the song from Guys and Dolls.
In the bathroom?
Sue Me, that song, Sue Me. Yeah.
I love it. In the men's room.
And Garrett Champagne was, and I came to the audition in a black shirt and a white tie like Frank, and a black suit. They were all, and they hired me. I was the juvenile lead.
I saw that on Broadway.
I had little lifts up my shoes.
Vic Van Dyke was great in that, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. He
God.
was really neat. And then in his series,
that landed his series from that,
yeah.
did it?
Remember with Mary Tyler Moore?
Yeah. But New York was great those days.
Those days, yeah.
God, the excitement. You know why it was great?
Why?
We had American plays and American musicals.
Yeah.
No English.
No, we did. We had...
Think about it, Michael. Am I right?
Yeah.
It was America.
Yeah, and then when an English play would come in, like, like a Brendan Behan play or something like that, it was really special.
Right. What did you actually learn looking at Actors Studio? What did you, Michael J. Pollard, learn at the Actors Studio? Could you share something with that audience out there? What would you say you have learned from Lee Strasberg, his technique? What is it all about? Method, actor.
Actor?
Yeah, tell me.
Well, the way Lee was teaching it, it was kind of like, your body is like a violin, or a piano, and it could be like, you could your body could be like a Stradivarius, but if it's out of tune, nobody's gonna know.
Right.
Or if you're wearing a $2,000 suit and no tie, nobody's gonna know. So it was like to tune up your instrument.
Right.
And speak up.
Speak up, right.
That's where it was.
Michael, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes.
Got to do something. How did you get that role? That role, that wonderful role.
Well, I knew Warren.
Beatty. You did something before with Warren?
Loss of Roses by
Loss-
William Inge on Broadway.
On Broadway.
Yeah.
So Warren had a lot to do with Michael J. Pollard's career then, huh?
Yeah, well, we did Dobie Gillis out here, too. And Tuesday Will played his girlfriend. And he was the most handsomest guy in the graduating class. And I was Maynard Krebs's cousin.
Uh-huh. I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah, yes, yes. Did you enjoy doing those days at the Dobie Gillis shows and all that?
Yeah. Yes, I did, Skippy.
Did you?
Now my acting is like, remember Charlie Parker? His horn became like his extension of his arm.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's how my acting instrument is now.
Your instrument is wonderful, Michael. You know what I loved in Bonnie and Clyde? I was in Germany in the theater, and I saw Bonnie and Clyde. I was working entertaining the troops there in Frankfurt, and there it was on the screen. I went to see it, and boy, did I see your face on that screen. I said, wow, what a great, I've never seen you before.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was in Germany then, too. I was doing Hannibal Brooks.
Oh, really?
Michael Winter and Oliver Reed. They said, go see yourself. And there was some guy was talking in German.
It was you.
That was
You had a special look.
Special look, Skippy.
You have that special... Is that what Hollywood at that time needed and is looking for? Today, they just look for good-looking guys.
Yeah.
Good-looking girls, good-looking guys. But that special look of Hollywood is that unique individuality. What's happening with that day?
Gee.
Come on.
Well, Skippy, that's the way, you know, when Jerry Wald was like the head of the studios and stuff. Now, you know, it's neat. I think it's neat. Like Tom Cruise is neat and Julia Roberts and everybody.
They're all good-looking. They're all, every guy's good-looking. There's no James Cagney, Humphrey Bogarts. These guys were all individual personalities. Clark Gables. That you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
What do we do about it? What do we do about this in Hollywood?
Move to Woodstock?
We don't have any... Yeah.
What do we do about this, Skippy?
You know, there are great faces like yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
I think you're a chameleon actor, though. You could do everything.
Yeah.
You've done Shakespeare, have you?
Well, in class.
In class? At the Actors Studio?
Well,
or what? Did you study somewhere else than the Actors Studio?
Josh Shelley, remember Josh Shelley?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I studied with him. Then when I first came, I studied with Herbert Berghoff when it used to be on 6th Avenue in New York on 23rd Street. Yeah, Lee Grant was my teacher.
Great
Shelley,
director,
Sandy Dennis.
great actress. She's in town, I understand. She's a great director.
Yeah, Skippy.
What's happening with Michael J. Pollard right now? You finished a film called Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And it's coming out with Madonna, and you're also in the video, I understand.
I am.
In the video scene? I think you're in the video too, aren't you?
Maybe so,
Yeah,
Skippy.
I think so, the singing the video. But I'd love to see a clip from that new movie of yours. It's they're making such a hype of this Dick Tracy. Have you seen it yet?
Part of it, Skippy, yeah.
What do you think?
It looks really
Does
good.
It?
Funny.
It is?
Primary colors.
Can we take a look at the clip? I'd love
Sure,
to see the
Skippy.
clip of this new movie called Dick Tracy with Michael J. Pollard.
Tracy! Tracy! It's like he's reading my mind.
Extra, extra! Tracy battles mom!
I'm taking this bum out of the headlines. I'm rubbing him out.
Oh, Tracy, watch out!
You take Tracy to me. I say we kill Tracy now. You challenge me, we all go down!
Are you gonna arrest me?
I want to know who killed Lips Manless. Not the bad! Not the bad, big boy, not the bad! I know, and I'm gonna miss you. But all's fair in love and business. Whose side are you on?
Side I'm always on. Mine.
What? What's the word out? Lips territory is my territory now. Everything he owns, I own. Move in and take your positions. Okay, boys, let's go. And you, guilty of attempting to bribe an officer of the law.
She does some nifty undercover work. That Dick Tracy drives you crazy, doesn't he?
All right, that's enough. I want Tracy dead!
Tracy, let's go! Good luck.
have just said goodbye to oxygen.
Aren't you gonna frisk me?
Stupid cop.
Tracy?
Warren Beatty is Dick Tracy.
You did a lot of scenes with her. Tell me about working with her.
She's a very nice girl, Madonna. She's
What makes her success so, you know?
She's always changing. She's always ahead of what other people are doing.
Ahead of doing? Yeah,
right, and then like what people do, you know, when she does it, everybody starts copying what she does.
And she changes.
Yeah.
And she gets her new thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, that's true.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, Michael. Close with, well, Dick Tracy, you know, our Warren Beatty friend.
Yes.
You're very close with him.
Yes, I am, Skippy.
And what kind of guy? Can you share me? I know you're going to say he's great and all that, but
yeah.
You know, what kind of really Warren Beatty? I know. I think he's very mysterious. I've seen him in clubs. I've seen him in restaurants. He keeps to himself. He's very quiet. He's an ordinary guy, though, isn't he?
A Southern gentleman.
A Southern gentleman?
Yeah, comes from West Virginia.
Uh-huh. Very soft-spoken?
Yes. Yes, he is, Skippy.
And Steve Martin. Tell me about Steve Martin and Michael J. Pollard. I'm going to go right to Steve Martin because Steve and you are very close, and you've done a lot of things with Steve. Now stop personating me.
Okay,
Michael,
what?
Go ahead. Yes, tell me.
I just saw him the other day.
You did?
Yes. He's a very nice guy.
Roxanne.
Yeah.
Tell me about, enjoy doing that film?
Well, we did a scene together, and he said to me during the scene.
Did he write that scene in for you? I understand he wrote.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of scenes in for me, Skippy. That one about Being in Nothingness by Jean Paul Sartre. And I was embarrassed to go by it by himself. Wrote that one, and then one on My Coat Caught on Fire. Yes.
He's a fun guy, isn't he?
Steve?
Steve Martin.
Yes. Also very quiet.
Theater. Is he very quiet? Is he very quiet? Is he very quiet? Look at Michael.
What?
Theater. First love?
Yes.
Is that your first love?
It was.
You still go to the Actors Studio, still, here in Hollywood. You still do.
Yeah.
Right? And you keep your toes sharp. Is that what people, is that why they do it, to keep it?
Yeah, because like after a while, if you don't, then you forget what you got in it for in the first place. I think, Skippy.
Do you ever teach up there, Michael?
No.
At the Actors?
I just observe.
You do observe Shelley Winters.
Yeah, I observed Shelley for the last 25 years.
You would observe. You learn a lot from Shelley Winters, have you?
Have I?
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, I've known her a long time.
Really?
Real long. Yeah, in New York and stuff. Yeah.
Why is Shelley Winters so down to earth and so earthy lady? And she's not like a movie star should be, or you aren't either, really.
Yeah.
What is a movie star should be? I don't know, but
Yeah.
that's, you know, the glamour. She doesn't worry about being glamorous or anything.
Yeah.
You know, she's so earthy.
Earthy.
Yeah.
This is yes, Skippy. She's earthy, funny. She's very nice. I protect her all the time. Shelley, it's okay.
She's okay.
Yeah. No.
Sylvester Stallone, Tango and Cash.
Yeah.
Tell me about that film. It's
Well,
out now.
I know.
It's doing very well.
Sylvester told me, he said, Michael, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He said, you know when Little Force and Big Halsey opened at the Beekman Theater on 3rd Avenue in New York? I said, yeah. He said, I was the usher who showed you to your seat.
He was?
Yeah, he was.
In Halsey? Really?
Yeah.
I love it. He's a nice guy.
Sylvester?
Sylvester, yeah.
He
Wonderful.
really is. He's like from
Very-
the neighborhood or something.
Yeah, his brother. Have you met his brother, Frank? Good singer.
Anybody wants to he is, huh?
Frank Stallone?
Yeah.
Wonderful singer. And his mother is just a wonderful astrologer, too.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole family is outrageous. They're fun. They're fun people.
Yes. Skip.
Working on the film of Tango and Cash.
Is this a little like Barbara Walters and Warren Beatty?
We're stretching her. We're just stretching, Michael.
Okay.
Working in Tango and Cash, you had a lot of fun working with that, with Kurt Russell and...
Yeah, I worked with Albert Margoli, Prince's manager. He was my director. But the guy who cast me was Andre Castellano, who did Runaway Train.
Ah.
So my mom said if Albert likes Prince, He's gonna like you, Michael.
Does your mother watch all your movies?
Well, I guess. I'm sure.
Uh-huh. Does she still live in Jersey?
New Jersey, yes.
New Jersey?
Yes.
It's a great place to grow up, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah.
New Jersey?
Nijinsky played tennis there.
Where?
In Passaic, New Jersey.
Yeah, is that where who played tennis?
Nijinsky, the ballet
Yeah,
dancer.
right. He played tennis. You're right. That's right. We're stretching
That's
for it. Melvin and Howard.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
That's Howard Hughes' life story.
Yes, it was, Skip.
Tell me about that. How did you get that role, Melvin and Howard?
Through Jonathan Demme.
Uh-huh.
I went up to see Jonathan with this guy who carried a gun in his briefcase.
Did he really? Tell us the story. Go ahead.
No.
No, go ahead, Michael.
No.
He had a gun in his briefcase?
No, he was my manager at the time.
Oh, okay.
Dominic.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, protection.
So, yeah. Well, that's how I got that. I saw the original will he wrote, you know, in the courtroom scene.
You did?
Yeah, he left money to Gene Peters and stuff.
And Terry Moore?
Yeah, huh.
And she claims she's got 10 million from that.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you more about Bonnie and Clyde. You were a Academy Award nomination. You got an Academy Award nomination for that.
Yes, I did, Skippy.
And I was very proud because you deserved it that year. I remember, and I was so, when I saw you, I thought you were just brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy working on Bonnie and Clyde?
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
people remember you from Bonnie and Clyde still.
Yeah.
Am I right, Michael?
Really?
Still. Does that, because you've done a lot.
Yes.
Not just Bonnie and Clyde.
What?
But a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But they only think
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde. Why,
Well,
Michael?
It was
Why?
a landmark movie, Skippy.
Yeah.
Doing that was very good. It was like almost like the New York Yankees or the Beatles.
Right.
You know, everybody kind of meshed together.
The world saw that. The world loved it.
Yeah.
See, and you became a world famous movie star on the screen then.
Yes.
You know, that face of yours. There was no face like that at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That little pinkish face of yours. It was adorable. Michael, favorite director. Who's your favorite? You have one?
Well, I like Arthur Penn, you know, Albert Margot.
Uh-huh.
Who else? I like Fred Sepsi. He did Roxanne.
Uh-huh.
Who else? Well, the fellow who did Next to Kin. Remember that with Patrick Swayze? John.
Yes, you just did a film with Pat. What was the film called?
Next to Kin.
Next to Kin.
Yeah, and then Scrooged.
Scrooge is coming out.
No.
Or it's out.
Remember with
It's
Bill
been out.
Murray?
Yes, of course.
That was Dick Donner.
Dick, you're right.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Russians Are Coming.
Yeah.
Who directed The Russians Are Coming?
That fellow from Canada.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah.
It's a funny movie. Huh?
Yeah, Russians Are Coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Direct? Do you direct, Michael? Would you
I
like
did
to? or
once.
Which one?
Back in 1968, I directed this thing. I think it's in Texas now. Village Voice came down, photographed the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
John and Michelle Phillips were in it.
Love her.
Yeah.
Love her, Michelle Phillips. And I like her daughter, too. Her daughter lived in my building. Michelle Phillips.
Oh,
is,
yeah, yeah.
Mackenzie Phillips. She lived in my building.
She did?
Yep. Before she had her little trouble. Mackenzie did. She,
Yeah.
You know, she was a wonderful girl, and she went back to her father.
You know,
up
I
in New
ran
York.
into a friend of Shelley's on Easter morning, Skippy. I'm sure you know who it is.
Go ahead. Who?
She's an actress. She's waiting to do that movie, too, with Shelley.
Waiting to do the movie with
You know-
Shelley.
Yeah, you know who it is, Skip.
No, I don't. I can't think of who it is.
You-
Oh, wait a minute. You, I understand, are up for, Richard Tate was calling me.
Yeah.
And you are up for a film you're going to be doing in Russia, is it? Or
Yeah.
with Shelley Winters.
Yeah.
That's right. Tell me about that. What is that all about?
No, I played this chauffeur named Gumdrop, and Shelley plays an ex-madam or something like that.
Uh-huh. Sounds fun.
That, yeah.
When is that going on? This summer?
Summer, huh?
Summer?
Yeah.
Have you been to Russia before?
No. Have you, Skippy?
Yes, I have. Michael?
What?
Is Michael J. Pollard religious?
Religious? No.
You know, are you religious? I mean, you know, spiritual. Are you spiritual?
Maybe so, Skippy, because I think 90s are supposed to be very spiritual, huh?
I understand you're a
from
Gemini
people,
like I
yeah.
am. I know that. I just
Yeah.
discovered you're a Gemini, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just discovered. Happy birthday.
Thanks,
Today's your
Shelley.
birthday. Well,
Skip.
today's your birthday?
No, yesterday.
Yesterday was your birthday?
Yeah.
Well, that's happy birthday,
It was on
Michael.
Entertainment Tonight and everything, my picture.
Well, happy
Skippy.
birthday. Mine's the 6th.
Six.
Mine's the 6th.
D-Day.
June. But I must tell you something, Michael J. Pollard. You, as an actor, are you writing anything?
Am I?
Yeah.
You mean like a script or
Yeah.
anything?
Come on.
Well,
I bet you are.
Not really, Skippy.
You're not?
No, I'm just an actor, Skippy.
You're just doing...
Yes. Warren's the producer, I'm the actor.
Warren keeps you busy, though, Warren Beatty, doesn't he?
Yes.
He keeps you in all his films.
Yes.
You're so close that way. Isn't that wonderful?
Mm.
Do you see him a lot, all the time? Do you go out a lot, Michael?
No,
What is
once
Michael
in a
J.
while.
Pollard's day like? I mean, getting up in the morning. You run, exercise, or...
I walk.
Walk? You do a lot of walking?
Yeah. Because I don't have a car.
Me too. Love it.
I don't want to end up like James Dean.
What do you mean by that, James Dean? I mean, he was driving fast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Jamie Dean drives fast.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
Did you know him?
No, Marilyn Monroe.
Pardon?
I knew Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe. You went to school with her at the Actors Studio. You were in the same classes.
Yeah.
With Lee Strasberg.
Yes, we
Paul
were.
Newman, Joanna Woodward.
Yeah.
Tell me about those days. Let's get back again.
Yeah.
Not those days. Tell me about those acting classes.
Very exciting. I mean, it was something.
Like what? Tell me, Michael. Just give me your, think back when Marilyn Monroe got up and did her scenes.
Well, I did a scene with her.
You did? Which
Yes.
one was it?
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
How was it doing the scene? Did you, doing a scene with Marilyn Monroe at the time, did you feel that she was going to be such...
She was?
She was, but, I meant a legend
Oh.
that kept on. That's what I mean, Michael.
Sure.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did she have that certain thing you saw?
Oh, yeah.
She did.
Yeah. She used to hang out with Paula Strasberg at the time.
She lived with Shelley Winters.
Oh,
her
that's
and
right, out
Shelley.
here on Holloway, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Where Salminio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, huh? That's right.
Did you know Sal?
Yeah.
Living out here in Hollywood, did you like it or New York better?
I like both, Skippy.
You do?
Yeah.
Come from Jersey, you would say immediately you like New York better. So that's interesting.
Well, everybody says New York's not the same.
That's what they're saying. Have you been back lately, or?
I haven't been back like in a year, Skippy.
Well, you haven't?
No. But I still like it. I go hang out in Soho when I go back.
I see.
Well, not hang out, I go shopping. I can't hang out anymore, Skippy. I'm an AA.
You go AA?
Yeah.
You don't drink anymore?
No.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you
Yeah.
go a couple times a day.
Yeah.
Because all those people, they spend a lot of time, early morning and sometimes late in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It has helped you a lot, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. 13
changed?
years, Skippy.
15?
13.
Really?
Yeah.
It has changed your life completely, hasn't
Completely. You might say I'm reborn.
it? You're reborn. That smile of yours, I think. You mean you don't touch any of that at all?
No.
It has helped you. So when you go to parties, you can go to parties.
Yeah.
And you can fade away from liquor.
Oh, it doesn't, no.
It doesn't bother you.
All that, yeah.
Interesting, Michael.
Thanks, Skippy.
And smoking?
Smoke cigarettes.
Did you ever smoke?
Well, I still smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. But that's all I do, Skippy.
That's what they do at the AA meetings,
Yeah.
right? And listen and do those things. I want to get back with you. Your favorite movie, Michael, you have done. What's your favorite you have done? You're going to say Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
Is it? That's your
Sure.
favorite?
Yes.
You're looking back?
Yes.
Okay. Looking back over your career, your life,
Yeah.
any regrets? Any regrets?
No. I turned down that movie Willard. Remember
Willard? Yes, the rat
There's
movie.
$6 million there. No.
You turned it on? I love it. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
What would Michael Pollard would like to do right now? You're going to Russia to do a film with Shelley Winters.
Yeah.
But what would you really, if I give you an opportunity right now, what would you like to do? What would you like to do?
I like shopping at LL Bean in Maine.
So Michael J. Pollard is not really, he's very low key here in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He doesn't drive. And
No.
He does his walking. He
Yes.
does his own shopping.
Mm-hmm. Well, my friend Gary helps me shop too.
I see.
Got the packages. And bursitis.
Michael J. Pollard, married?
Well, I was married twice, Skippy.
Twice?
Yeah.
Children?
I have 2 children, one by each marriage. Boy and a girl.
Really? Are any of them business at all?
Yeah, well, my first wife, Beth Allen, she was on the...
Beth Allen?
Yeah.
Was
on Alice for 9 years. Played Vera.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that your first wife? Beth
Yes.
Allen? I didn't know that. Okay. And children by her? You have one?
A daughter, Holly. She just graduated from Loyola Marymount.
Huh, nice.
Yeah.
And any they're going to be in the business or anything, or what?
Well, my daughter's with William Morris.
Uh-huh.
And then my son, Axel, lives in Florida with his mother, Annie.
I see.
So we're all friends.
I see.
Yes.
Michael?
What?
The episode with, I wanted to get back with Steve Martin. You've done 6 things with Steve.
Yeah.
Like what? Say,
well,
6 episodes?
Well, we did that Leo and Liz in Beverly Hills.
Right.
And then, well, we did the pilot. Originally, that was the George Burns comedy. They'd have a different show every week.
Right.
And then all those shows, they made that show the pilot for Leo and Liz, so that makes it 7. And then I did Roxanne with Steve.
He's
all
funny,
in the
isn't
same
he?
year.
What makes Steve, what's his magic? What is his magic? Because he's got such great magic.
Yeah. Well, he's a real nice guy.
You're saying nice guy.
Yeah.
Is that the magic word? Just being a nice guy?
You think?
Michael? I don't know. Because you're a nice guy.
Yeah.
And you got the magic too. You're a wonderful actor, and sometimes you're saying, "I'm waiting. I'm just going to sit there and patiently wait for the roles to come."
Yeah.
Do you think that's the way to be, Michael? Don't you think you should go after him? Like, you don't really go after those things.
I know.
Is that correct?
Yeah. I have to be more
aggressive.
Yes. You're right.
And you just lay back and wait until they come to you.
But I have to do the other things, Skippy.
Yeah. So maybe you have the right magic. I don't know. Maybe that's the best. Wait until it comes to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Sylvester Stallone came to you. Martin came to you. They all came to you.
Yeah.
And Bonnie, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
They all come to you. You don't go to them. So that's your secret, you know. Michael J. Pollard. Is that your real name?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Well, it's
Michael
Pollock.
Pollock.
But when I got in show business, there was this guy.
There was?
Yeah.
A
Michael Pollock singing on the Firestone Hour.
Uh-huh.
He was a singer, yeah.
Was he?
Yeah, I had to change my name. So one Christmas, my parents got me to Four Freedoms by Norman Rockwell, you know, they sent away to Norman.
Wonderful. Uh-huh.
And he signed it, and he signed it Michael J. Pollard, so I changed it to that.
Uh-huh. Interesting. That's how you changed your name. There is a Pollock director, isn't it? What's his name, the director, Pollock?
Sidney?
Sidney, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that thing with...
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, right. Why Michael always wear a hat?
Has the lowest prices on duffel bags, $9.95 and up. Camping stoves, $5 and up. And standard sleeping bags, $19.95 always. We have it all. Come on down to the Surplus Store, located at the corner of Venice and Motor in Los Angeles. Open 7 days a week.
TV Land, home of the 1980 state champion.
Whoa, Captain. Aren't we a little off course?
How about a bowl of Cap'n Crunch?
What am I, 12?
You used to love it. Remember? Crunchy, sweet. In fact, you cried your little eyes out till your mom bought it.
Okay. Hey, this is even better than I remember. But, let's keep that little crying thing between us, huh?
Cap'n Crunch. Great taste for adults from an adult, sort of.
Allergies are annoying. Allegra does this to seasonal allergy symptoms. Allegra has fexofenadine. You can't get fexofenadine anywhere but in Allegra. It really works. Allegra is for people 12 and over. Ask your doctor or pharmacist for more information. In clinical studies, less than 3% of people experience drowsiness, cold or flu, nausea, or menstrual pain. Allegra. Enjoy the world around you.
Dear Mr. Sanford, this is to inform you that your heart condition appears to be fine. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for your next checkup. However, since your primary care physician will be on vacation, your next appointment will be with Dr. Kevorkian.
Kevorkian?
Kevorkian.
Joey, 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 Joey.
Son of a gun.
Every time I listen to Judy Garland doing Over the Rainbow, I went to see a girl the other day at the Coast Playhouse. She's a New York, well, she's not really from New York, but she lived in New York for many years. I said, awesome. A friend of mine was with me. She just couldn't believe it. And she usually doesn't say a word. This gal, I'm telling you, or lady, I should say, Mary Setrakian, from San Francisco originally.
That's right.
Went to New York. Spent 10 years there. But let's growing up in San Francisco. Fun?
Just wonderful.
Really?
I grew up just north of San Francisco, across the Golden Gate Bridge, a little town, Kentfield, California, and have 3 brothers.
I always wanted to be a singer. Because in the show, in this particular show, you're doing a one-woman show.
That's right.
At the Coast Playhouse. You are singing, the opening is singing with your dad. Is that your dad?
That is my dad.
And you were 3 and a half?
3 and a half years old.
Tell me about that.
My dad is such an incredible man. He is multi-talented and loves music so much, and he was a performer himself. And so he had myself and my 3 brothers around a microphone from the time we could talk. And so I had these wonderful audio tapes of me at 3 and a half years old singing, as you heard, belting out, I Want a Girl Just Like the Girl That Married Jones.
And on key,
Right, that's
right. You have to tell my audience, you're on key at 3 and a half.
That's it, that's right.
Wow, what a...
So he really started the torch inside me of just loving to sing.
You studied voice in San Francisco?
I studied at Stanford University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then I went off to New England Conservatory, got a master's in voice performance. I wanted to get a technique that I could have for the rest of my life.
Mary, I'm looking at you. You really, because I was watching you on that stage, you really wanted to be an opera singer. Am I correct?
Well, I really wanted to be, I loved classical music, but I think deep inside I always wanted to do Broadway.
Broadway?
I think
okay.
deep inside. Yeah. But there was a part of me that thought I have to try this and be able to sing opera too, which I do in the show too. But I sing everything in the show, as you know.
Everything. Wow. Who did you, I mean, the very first, when you went to New York, you left San Francisco, went to New York, spent 10 years there. Very first, what happened? Tell me.
Very first
Girl
thing,
from California, arriving in Manhattan.
I had been to Boston for 3 years, so I literally went from Boston to New York. But it was really the first big city. And I lived in the Village at a friend's flat looking for a place to live. The first week I was there, I got into the chorus of the Light Opera in Manhattan and sort of working my way up. But I was a secretary during the day. And also got a waitering job at that point.
Right.
Made $5 a show at Light Opera Manhattan, so $35
That's
a week.
Great experience.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was on stage every night, and that was amazing experience to have that your legs on that stage.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Then you got into Broadway. Broadway. Tell me, what show first?
Hello, Dolly.
Hello,
with
Carol
Carol Channing. I had been in
the revival one.
The revival.
Okay.
I had been on tour with Broadway shows like Les Miserables, and just this last year, Phantom
It's a difficult show, Les Miserables. Every time I see that show, it's a tough show.
I understudied 12 roles.
Did you?
I did
Yeah.
12 parts in that show, so that was my big break to get into the Broadway scene.
I never really cared for that show.
It's long.
You know why? It's a downer for me. It's long and a downer. I want to go to the theater to be happy.
To be happy, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and your
I
show is
understand that.
really happy.
Thank
it really,
you.
It gives it something that... then you toured with Phantom.
Phantom.
Tell me about Phantom of the Opera.
That was a really big break for me. I got a wonderful principal role. Madame Giry, she's actually a lot older than I am, but with the makeup and the acting that I got to do, it was really wonderful.
You're a good actress, you know that.
Thank you.
You're a singing Anna Magnani-ish type on that stage sometimes.
Really?
You become a little Anna Magnani-ish, young though. A young Anna Magnani singer, you know. You're a great actress,
Thank you.
Not just a great singer, but you take that stage, this little theater you take over, it's like incredible. You're finding it wonderful at this little theater, the Coast?
It's just perfect. The 99 seats and with a raked audience so they can really look down. The audience to be a fly on the wall looking into my intimate life.
And they are.
And they are. That's so exciting.
Yes, they really are.
Yeah.
Tell me more about touring on Broadway with Carol Channing and...
That was a wonderful pre-Broadway tour, and then we went to Broadway. Carol Channing, what an incredible lady.
What did you learn from her?
I learned stamina. As you know in my show, there's so much stamina. She did 8 shows a week.
I'm going to get that with you because you really have the energy. Wow.
And 8 shows a week, she'd be out there just pouring her soul in, pouring her soul into every show. She'd never walked through a single thing. Her determination, her commitment, I think those things really impressed me. Really impressed me. And she was wonderful to us, and I think that's so important also.
Evita, one of my favorites too.
Yes.
Evita, Eva Peron. Tell me about that.
Yes,
you played
I was
it
on tour. Yes, I did. In Europe.
in Europe.
In Germany. I played it in Duisburg, Germany.
Ooh, what a classy place to be.
Fantastic. And
I've lived in Germany, in Wiesbaden, and Frankfurt, and I love
toured all those cities.
Yeah,
love them.
I love it. It's great. You did Evita there?
Yes, I did.
I bet they loved you.
They did. I was so thrilled. I was so thrilled.
The audiences are great there.
Wonderful. They really just embraced that show.
Fanny Bryce. I look at you sometimes and I see little Fanny Bryce there too. Tell me about Fanny Bryce. You did?
Well, I did it in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte has become a home away from home. When I got off tour, I went there and did some summer stock. I did the narrator and Joseph, and they called me.
Joseph is the color, Technicolor?
Yes.
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 Okay.
And CPCC Summer Theater called me and said, "We want to do a show for you. And we see you as Fanny Bryce. We want you to come and do that." And then they said, "And when you're done with Fanny Bryce, please come and do your one-woman show too." And so the show that is now in LA is the first time that I expanded. The show used to be an hour. It's now 90 minutes. So that was the first time I got to do that. Anyway, Fanny Bryce, I was able to really work on it in my acting class. My acting teacher has changed my life. She's the most incredible woman.
Well, this is where you got your idea for your one-woman show, really, basically, on this acting workshop.
That's right.
Your idea came, you were doing, tell me more.
It was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I was in my Monday night acting workshop that starts at 6 p.m. and goes until 4 in the morning sometimes.
Wow.
I mean, it's an intense, wonderful people. Susan Batson, who studied with Lee Strasberg and part of the Actors Studio.
Yes.
You know, fantastic actors in this class.
In New York.
In New York. And I thought, okay, and it was a class to develop our own work, which is so brilliant because we always have to depend on others to hire us.
Right.
So she wanted us to have a place that we could develop our own work. And I started thinking, oh, I'll do a medley for a cabaret act. And I threw together a couple songs. She said, oh, come with love songs.
Right.
So I came and I got this idea to make my own script out of my eclectic repertoire and turn it into a story and really go from the acting point of view. And I knew I could sing anything, and I thought, well, it'd be fun to really dig into the actress. And that's how it began. And we got 15 minutes together, and we did a backers audition and got a director and producer, and I expanded to an hour show, and then moved on from there.
A New York Romance. What a title. Come on, tell me about this title. I love it.
My mother thought of it.
Yeah,
Isn't that
did she
great?
really? This girl in New York looking for her love.
Yeah, it's really the 90s career woman
That's
story.
what I said to my friend. This is the 90 girl, baby, and she's wonderful. If anyone out there wants to see a show about a 90s girl, woo, This show is dynamic.
And it's so difficult for women we career women who are so driven in our careers, but we need romance too. And I think this is kind of that telling of that struggle of the strong woman really trying to get a romance.
I love your opening of the show when you walk in and the door slams and you fall on the floor and you're going, ah, the opera.
Yeah.
It's actually an opera. The whole thing is an opera.
Well, it's really sung through like an opera is.
Yeah,
but I sing, as you know, opera, pop, rock and roll, jazz, Broadway,
don't you?
rap, everything.
Broadway, rap, jazz,
Sanders,
and
blues.
also play the flute.
I play the flute.
Come on.
Well, I started at 9 years old, maybe even younger, studying the flute. And
you're wonderful at it.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
I was going to be a flutist, flautist. That was what I was going to do. And so I studied all the way through high school with an incredible teacher.
61 songs in the show. Come on, Mary. 61 songs.
When I counted them up, I couldn't believe it. 61 songs.
And nonstop. I mean, there's no intermission. 1 hour and a half, 90-minute show. What does it, I mean, the energy. You are just...
I hired a trainer in New York. I had to.
Right, you had to. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you know, and I have an exercise section where she's trying to get herself together.
And sing. You're singing and you're breathing, eating. I mean, you're eating and breathing, and it's breathing without no controls. How do you do that? That's incredible.
It's just one of my talents. I think it's just something.
That is a talent.
It's just something that I have in me. I don't think I worked on that. That just
and you're
happens.
exercising and you're singing.
That's
wow.
a tough one. That one.
Is it tough for you up there?
It's wonderful. I'm still learning how to pace myself as far as during the day, but it's so fun. It's
Very
so
Setrakian. What a name.
Yeah.
How come you didn't change it? You wanted to keep it, or
you know,
what?
I did change it for 3 years. I did 3 months. I changed it, and then I had people in New York calling me who I hadn't talked to in so long, and I started building a name in New York, and so I was afraid to change it, really.
You did a lot of cabaret in Manhattan, did you?
Well, I did some. I did mostly off-Broadway, Colette Collage and Hannah 1939 by Bob Merrill with Julie Wilson, wonderful cabaret
I love
singer.
her.
Oh, I
She's
adore
great,
her. And
I've interviewed her several times here. She's a
wonderful woman.
She comes here at the Roosevelt Hotel, and she does her one show. But where do you plan to take this show?
Well, our hope is to go off-Broadway in the fall. And really do a real run off Broadway.
And who directed it, Mary?
Jeff Wilson, a wonderful man who is a general manager for many Broadway shows, The Scarlet Pimpernel, Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk, and Carousel. And he's a very talented director, so I've been really blessed to have him on board.
Favorite song in the show? Because you're doing 61 songs.
Oh,
I mean,
there's so many wonderful special moments. The music that makes me dance is a special one to me.
It's my favorite.
Because Funny Girl is so special to me too. And the intimacy of that song. Teach Me Tonight is a special song to me too.
That's a dynamic song. The way you build it up. You build that thing. You build everything up.
And some of the quieter moments I really adore, like Art Garfunkel's song, oh gosh, it went out of my head. The song that he went off, All I Know.
All I Know.
I bruise you, you bruise me.
Yeah. Let's show my audience a clip. You just a nice clip
that
from
would
this
be
wonderful show, and it's a great show at the Coast Playhouse, and it's called A New York Romance. This gal is brought New York to Manhattan to L.A. Let's see.
Life keeps happening every day, say yes. When possibilities come your way, you can't start wondering what to say. You'll never learn if you never play, say yes. Say yes. Say yes. I know something about love. You gotta want it bad. If that guy got into your blood.
the audience, the night I was there, I'm sure every night, the audience seems to, California audiences and New York audiences, the East Coast, a little different.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I think you're right.
It's a little different, but I had to start that audience, but boy, when someone starts it, it's...
Oh, they're so right there, and you're such a wonderful audience.
No,
oh,
but I meant,
but,
you know...
But yeah, they really get, they get
seem
very
like
involved.
following the leader here. They just don't know what to do. They don't know where to applaud in songs or whatever. It's difficult theater in New York, but California's, it's learning, it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's getting there. I'm not
Absolutely.
going to... Everybody says you're putting it down so. Well, I love New York. New York, see, you're used to a New York audience.
More body and just willing to put it all out.
Yeah, because you really give it out. You know, you really work hard at it.
Yeah.
You must be exhausted every night because you're an hour and a half on this show. I mean, you're giving your every ounce of...
Yeah, it's interesting. Some nights, I'm certainly still up right after the show because you just want to keep flying. But I have to be very careful to just, let myself come down and then really get a good night's sleep. And
you sing opera. You do. I mean, not just not just jazz or rap or musical, or to play the flute. Mary, you're an opera singer. How many languages you do? You do.
I sing in I sing in Italian and German and French and a little Spanish.
Interesting, but the favorite show of musicals, which one was your favorite of Broadway?
In all the
shows you've done.
All the shows I've done.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you have a favorite?
Probably Funny Girl, but yeah, we keep coming back.
That's
to that
okay.
One.
That's Fatty Bryce.
That's one of my just all-time favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Streisand is probably. Who was your when growing up? Who was your?
Well, I really listened to, as you know, from my dad from the clip. All Beatrice Kay, all the real early singers when I was really little, and then Simon and Garfunkel, and I love those lyrics. I listened to a lot of the people with lyrics like Carole King and James Taylor.
That's important for a good singer, isn't it?
You just get involved in the lyrics.
Because that becomes an actress.
That's it.
See, you're listening to the lyrics. That's what Sinatra had such a great style.
The king of that.
He was because he did the lyrics. That's acting.
That's right.
And that's what.
And that's what I love to connect to.
Yeah, boy, when they come to see Mary Setrakian at the little theater called the Coast Playhouse in a New York romance, they got a lesson for themselves because you're a hidden gem.
Thank you.
I mean, really a hidden gem because you're here how long?
For 5 more weeks, all the way through August 23rd, and Thursdays through Sundays, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night at 8, and 3 o'clock matinee on Sunday.
I have never raved, as long as I've been doing this show, my television show. I have seen a performer like you on stage with rare, truthful, honest talent. And that's what you had that night, and I'm sure you have it every night. And that's what the audience, they come to see in Mary Setrakian's performance.
That's my goal. That's what I want. I want them to see that true intimacy. And
is it hard for you to do a one-woman show than a regular book show, Mary?
I think it's so exciting to be able to have your own. I fortunately have an incredible crew around me, which is so important.
Who are they?
My director, Jeff Wilson, my wonderful stage manager, Terry Smiley, who came out from New York and is really there with me, Steve and Kevin in the booth. And
I love at the end of your little bill thing, it says about your tell me about your man who...
My
fiancé.
Glenn Fischel, who I met when I was on tour with Phantom of the Opera. He was a prop stage right in Sacramento. And he's got a master's in film and is also a screenwriter and a wonderful man. And so New York Romance has a happy ending.
I understand. But you do a lot of theater and movies and television. You've done films. Tell me about the film you've done.
I did just some little parts in
Doesn't matter.
Blue Steel and Delirious. And,
Delirious, yes.
Yeah.
And also you were on Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls.
Tell me about the Golden Girls.
Oh, that was just fantastic. Dear friend of mine, Lex Passeris, was the director associate director on that too, and I got to be a dog show manager. It was the one that Betty White goes and becomes interviewing the dog show, and anyway, it was really fun.
Mary, if you weren't an actress singer, what would you have done? What would you do?
I've thought about that many times. I love to teach. So that's certainly something that I want to do now too.
You want to teach?
I want to do master classes and really help youth, especially those who love entertainment and who want to be in the arts. I think it's important to give back that way to young people.
You're having fun with the show. See, if you're not having fun, don't do it. Is that what you would say to?
Absolutely. You have to. It takes so much perseverance to continue in this field. You're on the line to the time, and you get a lot of rejection even when you're good, and it's very difficult. You have to really believe in yourself and have those who want to help support you and emotionally. You know, it's
Are you spiritual, Mary? You seem like you're very spiritual, especially when you do the ballads. You know, yeah, it seems like you are.
I think there's a higher power that comes through us all, and that's what really touches all of us.
The style, your style is so. There's a wonderful opera singer. I cannot think of her name, and she's one of my favorites too.
Maria Callas?
No, I love her. No, she's from New Zealand, the Maui girl. Kia. She's the best in the world.
Oh,
and boy, when I heard you sing, you're on key.
Well, what I was going to say about the opera too is that it's so wonderful to sing opera and have a real acting moment coming through it. Because many people don't hear opera in quite that way. They hear more the sound of the voice.
Yes.
And this, for me, is really bringing the character through the opera. And so people that have never enjoyed opera can finally feel it a little bit stronger, which is my hope. You know?
I love when you go into the refrigerator and you pour a drink, and then you got the straw. That's hysterical. There's a lot of comedy written in that show. It's not just dramatic, but it's an opera, though. It really is an opera, though, Mary.
Yeah, it really is all sung. I only speak a couple times.
You do, yes.
Just a couple times.
Yeah. Has your father seen the show?
Yes. He saw it in the hour form, and he came opening night here, and he looked pretty proud. So.
What would you say to women about the show who are coming to see the show? What are they telling you?
I think the women really relate to this show so much. Like we said, it's the 90s woman's love story, and they've all been there in one way or another. I get out self-help books and reading that. We've all done everything. Go to the refrigerator and get out the Captain
I don't care
Crunch.
where you are, New York, Chicago, San Francisco?
Matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
So it just crosses over that, and to be able to live that and laugh and enjoy and be moved by it all at once, which is what I'm hoping the show does.
What has been the hardest for you in this show?
The exercise section is pretty hard.
Right, yeah, I agree there. I agree.
Though I'm finding it's also one of the most fulfilling because it's so fun. I am able to go from opera right to a big belting number, and that is a challenge, but also really fun. And it's really probably after the show and in between making sure I'm really ready to get on stage and be as prepared as I can vocally.
You backstage before you come out, you're really preparing yourself. How do you key yourself into this? Because it's woo.
I really go into the character and what's happened the previous circumstance before I come on stage. And basically she's been left at the door with her boyfriend Bill, and so I really have to go into the acting of that and go very deeply into that and be in that pain when I come through that door. And so it's very funny when you come in, but it's because I'm telling the truth.
What was your life like in New York, not just as an actress working? You said that you had to work as a waitress, you're starting your career as a singer, actress, studying.
Yeah.
That's the goal, isn't it? You've got to aim for your goal and work.
That's right.
People think it's just getting it there. You've got to...
It's the journey. When I figured out that it's about what the going through the journey and enjoying the journey, because if you're just going for that one final step, if you just want the end result, you're not going to have a good life. You're not going to have a good time, or even the bumps along the way. You learn so much from them. So it's been a journey. I don't want to go back to it. I'm so excited about what's happening now and moving forward, but it's really about the journey. It was really wonderful. You really learn what a dollar is and what that means, and so when you start making more money, especially in your field, gosh, it feels
when
so
you were
good.
at Stanford studying, what did you learn a lot from Stanford? Because people in college, you got to prepare yourself, don't you believe? Go ahead.
I think I learned so much from the student body. There are so many interesting people there, and I had it was in dormitory situations for several years, and put on student productions that I learned more probably from than I've learned from anything in my life.
Yeah. Jodie Foster, same thing. She went back to school and studied and became a great actress. And that's
incredible.
What I think that's the basic thing, is really studying, preparing yourself.
Preparing. You have to do the work and really, like I said, get that technique for the singing, get the technique for the acting.
Right.
You know, I think I really got the technique for the acting when I moved to New York and studied with Susan Batson. Yeah.
Is that the only one you studied with Susan?
Lily Parker.
You do dancing too, don't you?
Yeah, I did.
So you do it all.
Yeah, you have to kind of try to do all of it.
Yeah, you prepare yourself at all.
That's right.
Well, the show is really a great show, and I love it. It's at the Coast Playhouse. And you say it's going to be there until when, Mary?
Through August 23rd.
Uh-huh.
And again, it's Thursday through Sundays.
And the songs are from Gershwin. Tell me about the songs. Who are some of the songs?
Oh,
give me
Bernstein, Sondheim, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and from artists like Turner, Bette Midler, Mary Chapin Carpenter, Bernadette Peters, then Menotti, Puccini.
Even Puccini,
Puccini,
yeah.
La Rondine, I sing in the shower.
Yeah,
Doretta
the shower
Zaria.
thing is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that you on the silhouette?
Oh, yeah, it's a light shining through.
You're on a silhouette in the body of, it's wonderful.
Oh,
it really is.
Thank you.
So at first you shocked the audience at the beginning, but boy, did they get it. They sat back and wow, Mary Setrakian really took them by surprise. Where did this girl come from?
Oh.
New York.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're Armenian, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and you had a lot of Armenians coming to see you.
I'm very thrilled about that. One of my investors and main, really helping get the show is the AGBU in New York, which is an Armenian group, and they've just been so supportive.
They were there and they love you.
Yeah.
I did too.
Oh,
and I really want to thank you for a great evening, Mary Setrakian.
Skip.
And I'll be back at that Playhouse to see you before you close.